Hello, my friends. It's another beautiful day, and as you can see, we are back home. Flew in from Austin, had an amazing trip, but we've got some politics to attend to. I was unplugged for several days, and there's a lot going on. I hopped on Twitter to sort of get my bearings straight, as we like to say, and I saw a tweet from Hillary. Now, Hillary was responding to the Pelosi story, and many people have been sharing their opinions on this. Not a lot of evidence out there yet. We don't really know the whole story. You know, there should be police reports and body cam videos, 911 calls. Certainly there's all sorts of surveillance footage, witness statements. I mean, the whole thing, right? I mean, it's the Speaker of the House. There should be mounds of evidence, and we should know a lot more about this. But currently we don't, and that's okay. It's still pretty early, but people are dogpiling on this, and they're trying to score political points, as usually is the case. So we talked about this on a prior Walk and Talk, Adam Kinzinger and others who just dogpile, right? They latch onto this, and it serves them because it allows them to castigate an entire political party without really any evidence or without any real justification for doing it. It's just, oh, somebody did something bad, I can take advantage of that, and they do that. So we saw a lot of that. Hillary Clinton, of course, can't let that go. So she posted a tweet, and she said, this is pretty clear. This was entirely predictable, was the word she used, saying that the Republicans and the extremists who have been proffering these conspiracy theories and these false narratives are creating this environment. And we see this all over the place, right? If you disagree with something, you are challenging the government, you're contributing to the undermining of America, or you're spreading misinformation, or you are encouraging terrorism through stochastic speech. And it's all, it's all just trying to just shut you up is really what this comes down to. Just shut up. If you debate us, if you offer a countervailing opinion, you are a dangerous enemy. So Biden did this in his speech, and we've seen example after example. But the problem with this, I think that's beyond just, I disagree with all of it, sort of smearing everybody, but they really have taken it from a small group of insurrectionists now. They've expanded the hula hoop to encompass all Republicans, okay? Like all of them, like the entire party. And Hillary Clinton said that. If you read her tweet, it says the Republicans, right? The Republican Party and its acolytes or something. And it's not saying only the extremists. It's not saying the Trump Republicans. It's not saying the election deniers, or, it's not sort of niching down. It's only connecting this to the entire party, right? The entire party, which is a pretty broad stroke to paint with. But she did it. And this is a funny development from her, because we saw, and we played this earlier in the week, last week, where she said, right, she was using some of the same language. She came out and said that the Republicans are going to literally steal the 2024 election. Literally, she was talking to that group of the indivisibles. And these were the people who are donating a bunch of money. They're concerned that the Supreme Court might change the election litigation rules, or the capability of who gets to decide what the final rules are, right? We saw that in the last election, 2020, a lot of secretaries of state and governors and judges all changed the rules on the basis of COVID, on the pretext of COVID, state emergency and everything. Well, if that is found to be unconstitutional, and the state legislatures, as embodied by the Constitution, have the ultimate authority, and that might allow them to exercise power in a way that Hillary doesn't like. So they're trying to raise a bunch of money for this. But the point is, she's saying that they are stealing, which is the bad no-no word that you can't say, that you get banned and suspended for if you make that allegation towards a prior election. But she's predicting the future. And I thought that the purpose of not being allowed to question prior elections was because we want to protect the integrity of our elections in some convoluted way, right? That's the justification. if you ask about how one of the tools of democracy is performing, which I think should be a natural part of democracy, to constantly question our systems. Is this working? Is this really working? They say you can't do that. We've reached the end of history when it comes to elections. They're perfect every time, no issues, don't question it. And if you do, then you're undermining the safety of America. You're contributing literally to J6 events and things like that, which is why they clamp down on all of that. But now you take a look at many people on their side of the aisle, Hillary in particular, who are making the same arguments now that it serves them. And we've also seen entire clips, 11 minutes or so, that I never played, the full thing on the show, but I've played 90 seconds of it, and it's stolen, illegitimate president, Tishy Tish James, on her face. It's horrible. TDS is rampant. But it's okay. It just gets glossed over. But if the Republicans do it, they got to be banned, suspended, thrown off, deplatformed, everywhere they turn. So Hillary posts this story, blames the Republicans. She links over to the LA Times. And something happened. Elon comes sweeping into the timeline. Uh-oh. Things about to get rough. Because Elon has, I don't know, maybe over 100 million followers now, 110 million. And he just drops a little reply right under Hillary's stupid tweet. And he says, there might be a smidge more to this story. The story that Paul Pelosi was attacked in his home by some dude with a hammer. Okay, randomly. Nobody knows what happened, where, he just found an open door, an open window, and just was able to get into the Speaker of the House's house. And this is a big problem for her. She has no security over her houses. The House of Representatives, nothing. Just people walk right in, literally. Cops like, yeah, come on in. Yeah, no, it's open. You need anything? And so maybe that's what happened here. Maybe the guy's like, can I come in? And the cops there, or the security guards that she's hired, are like, sure. Yeah, go insurrect away. Take whatever you want, do whatever you want. We don't have any podiums here. Maybe they have podiums. Did he take the podium? I don't know. Hopefully he didn't take the podium, because we know that the podium, I think that's how you control the whole country. So hopefully we still have possession of that. Paul, didn't lose that one. They almost lost it once. Jeez. But Elon slides in there. Boom. And he says, might be a smidge more to this story. And he links over to a website at Santa Monica. And it's the Santa Monica Observer. And, I don't have a lot of familiarity with this publication. But they, there's a lot of people saying, oh, it's a disinfo site, whatever. Right? I don't know the details on it. Doesn't particularly matter, because if you sort of analyze some of the weirdness of the situation, you kind of use logic to say there's a lot of things that don't add up here, and we're allowed to talk about alternative theories without being called conspiracy theory maniacs, which is actually kind of a nice term these days. It sort of means that you're right a lot of the time. So, okay. But he posts there, and this news article, it's now not available. So Elon either linked over to it and he crashed the site just with traffic, or they're getting a DDoS attack to try to suppress the story. But it doesn't look like they pulled the story, but it's hard. Elon linked to it. He's driving a ton of traffic over there with his 100 million followers. But of course, there's response groups out there that will also suppress stories and try to shut this stuff up. So don't know exactly what's going on, but the point is it's down. But if you read the article, I went and read through some of the web archive article, and it is pretty interesting. There's a theory that there was more to this story, that actually, maybe Paul was inebriated again. and that Paul might like male company from time to time, and that may be the situation that happened here with him coming home, kind of a late at night thing. We have a little prostitution situation happening, and something goes wrong in their encounter. It gets escalated, and the police respond. And it's a weird sort of situation because a lot of the facts aren't out yet. You know, we don't, at least I have not seen a police report officially released, or 911 calls, or seen really any official statements from Paul or Nancy or anybody that wants to go on the record with some details. But, you know, there's weird things that are happening. People are questioning, who owned that hammer? Where'd that hammer come from? And where is all the security footage? And when the caller called into 911, it sort of seemed like the caller knew some names and didn't know some other names. So people are saying, that's weird. If it's like a random invasion, like, did they come together? Did the caller come with the defendant? Or were they separate? And then the police were sort of right outside, and it's a weird situation going on. And again, it's hard to speculate because there's no evidence, right? There's no real hard things to talk about, but it certainly does seem suspicious. And when you have, you know, an October thing like this, right at the end of October, always, right? We were just saying a week ago, things are a little bit too quiet. Yeah, okay. Speaker of the House's husband gets attacked in his home by a MAGA extremist. Well, there you go. Okay, I guess. Okay, that's what we were looking for. Something insane and ridiculous like that. Here it is. And it's very convenient. I looked on, you know, Drudge Report, and I was sort of browsing around the news. It's the top story for 10 headlines on all of the places. All red. We told you this was coming. We knew this was going to be the outcome. And we tried to warn everybody. And now the country's on the brink. I mean, like, it's doom and gloom. It reminds me of sort of the COVID red. You know, holy crap. This is like a common occurrence in San Francisco. Everybody's getting knocked out all over the place. If it is what happened. I'm not endorsing it or saying anything like that. And yes, it is the Speaker of the House, right? And I don't want to minimize that. But there's no evidence, as far as I can tell, that this person had any concrete alignment one way or the other, right? You're seeing both sides finding evidence to support their claims that this guy lived in a hippie commune with BLM signs, and he was involved in other sort of lefty movements, and then evidence of the opposite, you know, that he's a QAnoner, or that he's somebody who engaged in conspiratorial thinking, right? They say that. And it's such a broad stroke that it's like if you question anything, they lump you into this category, and they try to make it pejorative. But I think more and more people are waking up. I mean, you know, I don't know if you saw that clip of Ben Shapiro and others are sort of seeing, you know, that a lot of the medical promises are all nonsense, and a lot of the economy promises are all nonsense. And, you know, it's a very interesting thing that is happening. I think people are sort of waking up a bit, and they see these stories for what they are. It just feels like a big climax almost to the event. It's like the third act in a movie. You know, it's like, whoa, this is all coming to a head. They told us, the J6 committee warned us that this was all going to be happening, that we were going to have death attacks, threats, and blah, blah, blah. And it's like headline after headline. Democrats fearful. Democrats panicked. Don't know if the country can survive this. The country's on the brink. And I don't think it feels that way to me at all. I mean, I think a lot of people are hearing the boy cry wolf a little bit on this. And it doesn't ring like it has a lot of authenticity to it, especially since they don't have a history of being open and transparent and honest. Actually, quite the opposite. Maybe they should form a select committee to investigate this home insurrection and investigate the hammers and homeware, home improvement stores to make sure that you get ID'd. Who'd you vote for before you come in here? Who'd you vote for? Biden. Okay. You can go to the hammer section, aisle 13. How about you? You only get to go to the styrofoam section. And you can get some pool noodles. But that's it. You don't get any sledgehammers or power tools. You extremist. But it feels like this will continue on. The good news is Elon is out there, and he is going with that one tweet, that one little tweet to 100 million followers. There might be a smidge more to this story. Oh boy, it's going to amplify that to an extent that they're not going to be all that happy with. But, you know, it's a fun case to defend, certainly, if we can get some evidence about this. The DA apparently said that she's going to be prosecuting this to the fullest extent of the law, and we're going to get to the bottom of this and see what his motivations are and charge him out the wazoo. Certainly. Okay, that's fine. It'd be a fun case to defend because there should be a lot of evidence there. And if there's any hint of invitation or, you know, something else, that could blow this whole story just right out of the water. And there should be some evidence. Now, if you remember, we did cover some of Paul Pelosi's DUI case, and it was difficult to get evidence there. They pretty much buttoned that whole thing up without much fanfare. You know, it was kind of resolved, and it all went away. So will that happen here? We're going to have to keep an eye on that. Is this guy going to plead guilty and just close this thing up? Maybe even through a pre-indictment agreement or a pre-charging agreement, so the charges don't even get filed. I mean, because what happens if they charge him with 10 crimes? You know, assault, home invasion, criminal damage, you know, all this other stuff, disorderly, lot there. And he fights every one of those charges, and he has a defense to every one of those charges. I'd love to hear from him. Love to see what he had to say about the situation. But if he doesn't, right, if he doesn't put up a big defense, a couple things you can take from that. He doesn't want to fight it for whatever reason. You know, there's a whole slew of them. Whether it's public pressure or private pressure, or it's just the natural consequences of being charged with a crime, right? There's that. Oftentimes when you're charged with a crime, they'll stack charges and they'll say, if you lose at trial, you're going to go to jail for 340 years. But we'll give you a plea deal for 5. You go, okay, I'll take 5. And if you've already been in custody for, let's say, 2 years while all of it's pending, you go, all right, well, I'll get credit for those 2, and then I'll get my credit for good time, whatever they call it in your state. You know, 80%, 85%, 75% time. You go, okay, I'll serve another 18 months and then I'll be out, right? And the prosecutors know that. That's why they structure their deals this way, especially when their cases are weak. So they could just do that with this guy. Just say, look, we're going to charge you, we're going to overly charge you, 500 years, Speaker of the House, terrorist, federal charges, or, you know, trap, whatever. Crossing state lines. I don't know where he's from, but they'll come up with a whole slew of charges. They're very good at that. And they just bully him into just pleading quickly, quietly, without any further public records being released, without any litigation. Don't want this guy testifying in court or being loud, because Nancy Pelosi Doesn't want those potential details coming out, if they're true. And it's all just speculative. Hear the birds? Here at the park. But it is nice to have Elon spiking the football and dunking on some of these people. And there's a question, you know, would Elon have done that or have been allowed to do that had he not owned the platform? You know, I don't know, because it's a very spicy take. Basically, they're calling Paul a gay man who engages with prostitutes late at night. Something went wrong. Nancy Pelosi kind of knows about all this. And, you know, this whole thing is being exploited for political purposes. A lot of people raising their eyebrows about it, but the evidence is still not out there yet. I think that if this is a very open and shut case, if this is a MAGA extremist, somebody who has a history, somebody who was conditioned by the Republicans, cultivated by this misinformation and disinformation and bad YouTube videos and illegal tweets. If this person was just like a nice boy, all he wanted to do was get a good job, find a nice girl, start a family, get a dog. But then Donald Trump came president. He started speaking. Slowly his mind became corroded and corrupted to the point where he had to attack the Speaker of the House. If there's evidence of that, I'd love to see it. Honestly, I would. I'd be like, wow, that's crazy. Well, that whole transition. Or this guy has some mental health problems. Or this guy is involved in something that isn't quite what it seems. There's a lot of alternatives. But the one thing that always makes me skeptical is when you just go from tab to tab to tab, browser to browser, you just see web page after web page, red lists of death in just a couple weeks, right? Like a week until the next election. And it's uniform. It's just something where they all get the memo and they fall into line. Set it up, boom. So we'll see a lot more of it. I still think if it's open shut, they release the evidence, release the police report, let's see it. See what happened. So that we can review it. And I hope they do. And we'll see how long it is and how detailed it is. Speaker of the House, assault, what are we gonna get? A couple pages? We'll see, if anything. But I hope you are having an amazing weekend, my friends, getting ready for a busy new week ahead. Of course, things will continue to heat up as they are right now. But we got another crew of bikers coming by. He said, I thought that guy was walking and fishing. No, it's a selfie stick. But fishing is fun, very relaxing. I haven't done that in a while. Long while, since I was a boy. But it's good to get outside. Fresh sunshine, fresh air. I hope you are having an amazing day, my friends. We'll be back to regular schedule on Monday, and I'll look forward to seeing you then. Make it a great day. Bye-bye.